what have been, I guess, one or two of some obstacles that you guys have faced? Because I personally, I'm really not in that part of jump. I'm not in that world, but I'm really curious to hear what work is being done and what obstacles you guys are working on or working on getting through.
Yeah, so I think going off that point, I think one obstacle is creating more instructors. So
Yeah.
I think what we believe is one reason why our sport really hasn't grown as far as growth is because we feel as jump rope athletes that we have to do it all. So my point with that is whenever you have a school that reaches out and says that can you do a jump rope class, you say yes, and then you go do it. Another one calls, can you come teach? You say yes, and you go do it. A third one calls, you're like, oh man, well, I mean, sure, it's going to stretch me, but I can do it. Then a fourth, then a fifth, all these people start to call, and you're like, look, I can't do this anymore. Then at that point, a lot of times it stops because we feel that we're the only ones that can go teach a skier, a bell, a cross, and that's not the case. So for us, in order to kind of fix that problem, it's not great, but what we've done is when we were over in Knoxville, Tennessee, that's where we started our business, learning the ropes. And we had that same problem. We had 2 sites, we had 3 sites, then it went to 9 to 10 sites. And we're like, there's no way between the 2 of us, school and work, that we can get to 10 sites a week. It's just not going to work. So we ended up hiring University of Tennessee students. And so they were like in Kaylee's classes that she was teaching. And we hired them and said, do you want to be a jump rope instructor? We're going to teach you how to teach level 1 skills. We're going to teach you how to work with kids, how to navigate everything. And then from there, we pushed them out there. And they were able to teach the exact same skills that we would be doing to all these kids. And so I think as a sport, if we can just continue to create more instructors of our sport, of our activity, it'll help get more kids going. I think a second part is that we actually have to have a plan on how we're going to go in there. A lot of times our plan is like, we're going to teach jump rope and that's it.
That's it.
Right? And so after they learn how to do it, they have to know where to go. What's the end mark? Is it a show? Is it a competition? What is that? And a lot of times we haven't had that. So our first 2 years, we actually built up to a showcase. So our instructors will go in, they will work with the centers, and at the end of our season, each of our rec centers will put together a 5 to 7 minute performance on whatever they want to do. Didn't matter if it was, dancing and jumping, whatever they wanted to do that jump rope based, we wanted them to just show off what they learned. So we did that for 2 years, and that's kind of what they were leading up to because they knew it. And then our third year that we were there, we ended up doing like a mini competition where they competed at their rec centers. And then once they got their numbers, they gave it to me. I cross-referenced them across all the centers, and then we gave out some small awards. So I think, one, we need to have more instructors so that we can spread our sport. But 2, we have to have a plan when we go in, because if not, we're not doing anything. Going back to what Kaylee said earlier, and she said, we have to teach people our game. Here's what and here's another way how I like to put it. When you go into elementary school and you learn how to dribble a ball, then you learn how to pass it, then it goes into a hoop, then it's 2-on-2, it's 3-on-3. Now you're playing basketball. They taught you that.
There's a progression. Yeah.
It's a progression. You keep going with it.
And there's an end goal to it.
There's an end goal. With jump rope, we get you the rope. We teach you how to do single bounce, skiers, bells. We teach you those skills, or the PE teachers do a great job of teaching those skills. But then after that, you're like, well, that's it.
Right.
We don't teach them our game. We don't teach them how to compete. We don't teach them a compulsory routine. We don't teach them any of those things of how they can take it further. Once we do that, then jump rope, in my opinion, in our opinion, we feel like can be something that will be long lasting. They can go from elementary school to middle school and be like, oh, there's a jump rope team here. I now know how this works. Oh, I can go to high school. I now know how this works. Instead of finding a random team in your area and being like, what's that?
Yeah.
We just have to do a better job.
And a lot of times too, when they find that random team, and I mean, this is my story too. I found a team. I started jumping. Within a year and a half, my family was paying for me to go to Disney World on our own dime to compete. Like, that's a lot. And we were practicing like 10, 11 months out of the year. And I was, 10? So, it's just a huge commitment for an activity that parents might not have ever heard of as a competitive sport. The kid really doesn't know what it is, right? And so you're kind of just throwing the dice and being like, all right, well, I hope this sticks with 2 out of these 30 kids that I've got trying out for my team this year. Does that make sense?
No,
So if we can,
yeah, it totally does. Yeah.
yeah, if we can introduce it at that lower level and get people involved in the sport aspect without having to travel across the country at age 11 for their first year, like that's where I think we're going to really start making it stick.